Today, we will look through a microscope lens and we'll try to capture an understanding of the biological world through the study of molecular structure and function, as well as metabolic, genetic, and psychological process. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to University Living YouTube channel. You're watching ULTV Student Diaries. I'm Shefali Shrivastav, your study abroad buddy. The course under section today is Molecular and Cellular Biology, a scientific discipline that underpins all living organisms. This is a rapidly evolving and exciting field which combines biochemistry, genetics, and cell biology to provide insights and explain how molecular function produces the hierarchy of living cells, tissues, and ultimate whole organism. You might have heard about the latest RT-PCR test. That's nothing but a baby of this study. Today, we have Ashit Tyagi from the University of Glasgow to bring further knowledge on this topic. Hi, Ashit. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Shefali. Thank you so much for having me over.
Thank you
It's
so
really
much for
nice.
joining us from all the way Glasgow. And because thanks to you, I got to know that how this RT-PCR test came into existence. I'm pretty sure students like you, after on in their pass on life, they developed such tests which helped a lot of people across the globe in saving life and taking medication on the right time.
It's my
So,
pleasure.
so Ashit, now you have been in UK, you are studying in UK, you are in Glasgow, which is a very, very pretty city, I must say. How has been UK so far? How are you liking it towards you?
I love this place. The people are nice. The place is beautiful. It's just a lot of people think that the weather is a bit, rainy and dark, but otherwise it's an amazing place. And I honestly love Glasgow. I have been to other places in Scotland, but Glasgow is the best. And then the location where the university is located is really very safe. It's close to the city center. It's close to a lot of eating spaces, socializing spaces. So it's overall an amazing place.
And you're loving it. How long? It's been more than a year, I believe now.
It's been about 1.5 years now.
Okay, so you have seen Christmas, you have seen New Year, you have seen all the festivals over there, and
Yeah.
recently you've seen you Holi as well. So how the festivity is in UK, it's always, I've always heard the stories that during Christmas and New Year, UK is completely different. It's 360-degree turn for all these old monuments and especially these forts and other places.
Christmas is like Diwali in India. So just the way at the time of Diwali, everyone becomes festive and something or the other starts to happen at every corner of every city. It's almost like that here in the Western world. So yeah, Christmas is a huge thing and people are waiting for it since like 6 months, and they're like 6 months to Christmas, 4 months to Christmas, and the countdown. And then it also depends on your company. But yeah, these festivals are really fun to enjoy. And also, since I'm from India and I've been born and brought up in India, I am also connected to the Indian festivals.
Right.
And I have also fortunately got the opportunity to celebrate Indian festivals with the Indian Society in the University of Glasgow.
That's great. That's great. I do have a couple of questions. I really want to understand. This is becoming my favorite question now. Tell me
Mhm.
one thing that you love about UK.
The one thing that I love about UK is the opportunities they offer, opportunities in every sector, opportunities in, for example, a part-time job or research-based opportunities, a lab-based work. Obviously, since my priorities are into research and stuff, so I look forward to that kind of material. But yeah, there are loads of opportunities in the UK.
Great.
Also, I think it's important to uh bring this fact up that there are loads of opportunities in India as well. But since India has such a large population, the portion of opportunities per person reduces. And that's the
Right.
good thing about UK. The population is quite low.
Right. Right. Now you've shared the good part. I also like to know that one thing that you would like to change or you think that UK can do better, but we'll come back to this question. You can think over this point and we'll come back to this question.
Okay, I think the
Further
answer is very
discussion.
overrated, and I think everyone keeps talking about it anyways, that it's the weather. uh,
No, but you need to change. Like UK has something which is not a pro for them. But we'll come back to this question. You can
Yeah,
think over
sure,
it.
sure.
Let's move into the further conversation. So
Mhm.
you're taking a very peculiar course. If I talk about, it's a
Yeah.
very research based course, and I don't think that IELTS 6 or 7 will do for you. So
Uh-huh.
what kind of test, English proficiency test, you have taken, and how did you manage this whole process of yours? Which
I
test would
am
you recommend if anybody who's planning abroad? If I talk about Glasgow, or if particular to this course, if
I am not gonna lie. I have given no English proficiency test throughout my study abroad experience. And because I moved to abroad right after my grade 12th, they consider grade 12th English CBSE scores. And I think this
okay,
is only a clause for CBSE English grades. And I'm not sure about other states and boards like that. Because everyone I know here has given IELTS. And I'm like, why?
yeah,
Why did I not have to give IELTS? And then so I got like 98 out of 100 in English. So I didn't have to give any touchwood English proficiency test. But then, yeah, I think IELTS is one of the most popular tests, but it is quite expensive. So I got this other alternative when I was doing my research. I found it out, although I didn't have to give it at the end. But then I found this alternative. I'm not sure if I remember the name, but it's TOEFL or something.
TOEFL,
And
yeah, TOEFL.
and is it cheaper and online?
Yeah, it's compared.
I,
They have a different procedure altogether to do the analysis. They also have two-way. One is a physical format and one is a computer format. So TOEFL
oh,
is
right.
definitely also a very big player in this English proficiency test. So yeah,
But I was safe. I didn't have to.
you were lucky, I must say, in many terms then,
Yeah,
because a lot of students keep on preparing, and trust me, IELTS is that ghost that you can't see but you can feel it.
I
You talk
know.
to any student who's preparing for abroad, they have cracked scholarship, but somehow there is this little small fragment of fear in them for IELTS exam, which is really surprising for everyone, in fact for them also. So
I
but
think it's sorry.
yeah, no, please go
I
ahead.
I think as the common feedback I've got, it's the speaking part that people are usually scared of, because writing and reading are the things we have been doing in school, but the speaking and the conversation part can be a bit intimidating.
Listening in the conversation, right? Correct,
Yeah.
correct, correct. Okay, so you have taken a very interesting course, and I'm dying to hear more about this course, to be very honest. But
Uh-huh.
before we do that, it's very important to understand, how did you chalked out your study abroad journey? How did you plan that? Was it like a very impromptu decision, or did you give a proper thought to it? How did you plan your funding? Did you got any scholarship? As you mentioned that you didn't give any exams in IELTS exam, so but was there any kind of test or any scholarship kind of opportunity available which helped you in planning your study abroad journey in a better manner?
So I did not always plan to come abroad for studies after my high school finished. And I always dreamt of coming abroad, but I never planned it in that way, if you know what I mean. So I think it was in my destiny, it was written in my stars, as they say. But yeah, it was definitely not an impromptu decision. I wish I could say that. But it was very casual though, because I when I was researching about what colleges or university should I apply to during my grade 12th, I found out that most of the Indian colleges lie way below in the world ranking when compared to international universities. And then I discovered this whole new universe of international universities and how prestigious things are outside India. And then I talked to my parents about it, and they have always been really very supportive. And my mother has always been like that. She goes, go for it, just give it a try, and then we'll see what happens. And then it was that casual, and I just applied. It was that there were loads of processes, interviews, forms, essays that I had to write, but I just gave it a try, and then I got my offer letter, and then I got to know more and more about it. So it was a very gradual developmental process. And then talking about my funding, I tried to apply for loans in SBI Bank, but then it didn't work out for me. I don't know why, because they needed loads of documents and they needed
A
stuff
lot
that
of documents are required.
I know, and it was very messed up. And then but one of the major mistakes I made was I applied really very late. Although that didn't cost me on my university or degree, but that did cost me on some other things. So I didn't have a lot of time to stick to the loan thing. So my parents sponsored it for me, which is really lucky for me and fortunate. And I did get a scholarship, but it's just that in UK, these scholarships are not like a big thing. It's more of a bigger thing in Americas where they get need blind scholarships. But I got this £5,000 scholarship for every year of my degree. So
That's
like
nice.
20,000 pounds for, or no, wait, 2,000 pounds. Wait, what? 20,
Don't convert, that's fine. 2,000
yeah,
pounds is fine. I'm pretty sure the users who are watching this, who will be watching this and who are
we can
watching this
calculate it.
are
Yeah.
already aware. And this is a advice that every student has also given to me, like any international, don't convert. Once you start converting, that's a loop and you can't get out of it. So let's just avoid that step. So 2,000 pounds, guys. That's it.
It's
Don't convert.
yeah. Yeah, I get it now. It's £5,000 every year, so twenty
Yeah,
thousand pounds throughout my degree.
right,
Which is,
right,
but
right.
yeah, I used to make this mistake for like my first few months, and it was so scary. I used to go to shops
I
and I
think
was like,
it's every desi kid, every desi
I
kid. When I say
know,
desi, I mean Asians. Every Asian kid must be doing this because in Asia, I don't know, is this whole continent has this kind of some feature that we
uh-huh,
are so like we have to save money. We can't spend this kind of money on
I
this small thing. We
know,
can't do that.
I know.
That's
I
so
used
injustice to money.
I used to cry to my friends. I was like, you can't even get a chewing gum for less than 100 rupees here. Like, what?
Right, right. So let's not get into that loop.
Yeah,
This
let's
is the
get
secret advice that we give everyone. Okay, now we have got to know that how did you plan the journey? How did you take exam? What kind of scholarship you got? Now, moving forward about the course, tell me each and everything about the course. I will definitely ask the question. I'm pretty sure that the viewers who are, who gonna watch the show, they'll also have a lot of queries because I believe this course is not that popular in India yet.
It is not, yeah.
Yeah. So just in case if there are, for example, as you mentioned that when you did your research, you found that Indian universities were lying very low in the ranking system. So
Mhm.
what do you think is the reason? In what context does a UK study of the same course varies from an Indian study?
I will answer this question at the lowest level possible. So broadly, Indian universities do not have a lot of lab-based teaching, but here in University of Glasgow, we have a lot of labs and we are assessed in the labs, which makes it more easier for us to, work in the lab with the dedication because we're going to be assessed on it. And so yeah, as I was saying, I'll tell you a very small thing. That's it. It's minute and it might not make a big difference. But then, so we were using these pipettes in the lab, and pipettes are stuff you use to transfer small amounts of solutions from one test tube to another. And so during the conversation, I heard my professor saying that one pipette costs £2,000, which is like 2 lakh INR. And we have like 50 students in a lab, so 50 pipettes for each lab. And we have loads of labs, loads of students. So a lot of pipettes. It's a very small thing though, but it's so expensive. And I do not think at this time Indian laboratories are that modernized or that well equipped for this level of lab-based research and
Right.
lab-based.
Maybe a couple of universities might be like well equipped.
Yeah,
We might not be aware about that. But yeah, what I understood from the conversation that the practical approach, that the lab approach that you mentioned, that's what missing at the Indian context and over here. So definitely makes sense. And there are a couple of more. If you talk about the exposure that you get overseas, the different kind of nationalities you meet, the different kind of culture you meet, you get to know their perspective also. And I believe that that's something that adds value to this whole learning opportunity that one avails at international colleges.
one of the most important things that you develop is a perspective when you study abroad, because when you're abroad, you're living on your own, you're doing everything for yourself, so you start to develop a perspective of your own, which is hard to develop when you stay in India, I believe. not because I study abroad, but it's just a general perspective. And also we have our professors, they are researchers which have their own labs in the university. They're doing their own research, but they provide lectures to us, unlike Indian professors who are just professors, and that's their job. We have guest lectures where researchers across the UK who are working on something similar to what we are being taught in lectures, they come to our lectures, talk about their research projects and how they tried to work on something which did turn out well or which did not turn out well, which gives us more of a holistic approach towards the topic that we are studying, and not just a very theoretical information on the topic. But yeah, I think those are some points.
Right, right. Now, are there any kind of prerequisites for this course, like to enroll? For example, you need to come from this background, or you need to have such percentage of scores in the 12th or so.
There is a threshold cap value of scores. I'm not sure about the number, but I would always say if you wanna come abroad, just make sure your scores are excellent. But the good thing about studying abroad is that scores are not everything for these universities. They also value other extracurricular and co-curricular activities that you have been doing, which is really important to understand at a basic level of education, because you start doing these activities right from your beginning of your high school. So I used to keep telling my younger brother as well to, participate in as many things as he can. Because it does make sense as well, though, because they're just trying to assess a student on the basis of how can they manage all these different things in their life. Because when you come to uni, you have got loads of things to manage. You've got your lectures, your labs, your social life, your work, your social events, your night outs, and your weekends. And then you need to manage all these things. So university is literally just trying to select those students who can do a lot of things at once without stressing about it.
True, true. Now, what does this course entail? There are a lot of, I'll say, like misconception around this course, as we were talking earlier during the before the session started. So,
Mhm.
what does this course actually entail? Does this talk more about molecular science? Does this talk more about the organism science? If you can just enlighten us on this.
Of course. So, my degree, molecular and cellular biology with biotechnology, it covers wide ranges of topics, like including cell biology, genetics, biochemistry, molecular biology, and immunology. And it's more of a study on the molecular and cellular processes inside human body or a plant body, rather than the anatomical or physiological studies of humans and plants, if that makes sense. It's a very in-depth study. And another thing that really attracts me to this field is that it's a very unsaturated field of study. So there is loads of scope for research and more development in this field, unlike other fields where people have studied a lot and you literally have to study the same thing over and over again. In fact, our lecturers are usually just giving us open questions. And that's what a lecture is all about. That it's something you need to think about. Like, no one's worked on it. So there's a lot of scope for research and work to be done in this field.
Right. So the scope of work that still yet to be done, and you can create that. So that does interest you, I believe.
It does, yes. It
Okay.
excites me.
So any other thing that I have missed in asking about this course, I'm happy to hear.
For this course, we have a lot of lab work. We have, in fact, the next semester, my seniors told me that we have got 6 to 7 hours of labs every day for 2 weeks. And then we need to make a lab report out of those labs. And
Okay.
I really like the concept of lab reports here. So we have consecutive labs for 3 weeks in a row, and then we are given a topic. For example, this semester we were given this topic of this enzyme and how we can produce this enzyme in labs to work in some reaction. And we compared the uh, amount of making this enzyme in the labs to the amount of buying it commercially. And then we compared the amounts and then tried to understand if the making this enzyme in the lab is cheaper than actually buying
Right.
it commercially. So first we went through a series of labs and we studied about this, and then at the end of the labs we analyzed the data, and then we had to make a full lab report discussing that if it's actually cheaper, it is cheaper. And then it's really interesting and exciting.
It is while I'm listening to it, and of course somehow I'm feeling little like this when you mentioned like 6 to 7 hours of lab, and I
I
know
know.
the courses of 4 years. So how much hours you're going to spend in lab, that's going to be very
I know.
interesting. So I have this curious question, and this can be a stupid question, please excuse me if it is.
No, it's okay.
Does a forensic scientist also belong to the similar course, or they also study the same course?
We did have lectures on forensics last year where we studied about how long does it take certain bacteria to grow in a dead body, and how can we say how old the dead body is by looking at the cells and molecules. But yeah, there might be some other physiological aspects as well, which are not necessarily covered
Right.
in this course, but we did have lectures on forensics. And we did have labs where we had dissected cadavers. So we
Okay.
had a human body cut from the center here, and then we could see all of their internal structures from the inside, which is a bit
Mm.
creepy. They were like 50 years old dead bodies.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Makes
fun.
sense. I don't want to imagine that, but yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's
trust
important
me, you don't.
with respect to the course that you are into. I'm pretty sure it's very, very important to have an understanding. And for that, you have to go to depth of literal dead bodies. So yeah.
Yeah,
May
yeah.
God bless of his soul. Now, moving forward in the conversation, you mentioned about University of Glasgow. So, was University of Glasgow was your first choice, or it, like you mentioned that it was in your stars and it happened? So,
Mhm.
was it that?
It was so when I was applying for universities, I applied for like 11 universities or maybe more. I don't even remember. And I applied for universities all across the globe. I applied
Okay,
for universities in America, Canada. I missed Australia because I wanted to go somewhere far off and not
okay,
like the first thing. But then I applied for universities in UK as well. And then thankfully, I got offer letter from each and every university I applied. And then I compared their ranking and course quality and then chose University of Glasgow out of all of those universities.
okay. So, what were the factors that you considered University of Glasgow over others, apart from the ranking?
Apart from the ranking, this course is a very rare course, and not a lot of universities offer this. So, University of Glasgow does offer this. And then the quality of content for this particular course is really good for Glasgow University. And then, especially the course ranking for this course is also higher for University of Glasgow. That really uh, excited me and attracted me.
Okay, makes sense. Now you mentioned that you asked your brother also to do a lot of extracurricular activities alongside with the studies and where he needs to score good marks.
Mhm.
While we are on the subject of extracurricular activities, what kind of extracurricular activities are at University of Glasgow? What kind of clubs are there, and what kind of clubs have you joined? And with respect to your course, is there any course specific club also with respect to molecular biology?
What not? What can you not do at University of Glasgow? There's literally, you name it and I'll say yes, because University of Glasgow offers loads of different clubs and societies. I don't remember the number, but it was something like, I don't know, something more than 200 societies, clubs and societies. And then, yes, it's a very good point. I didn't know about field related or your degree related clubs and societies earlier when I joined University of Glasgow. But yes, there are a lot of subject related opportunities in clubs and societies. For example, this G Genome Society that I'm a part of, they have these guest lectures which are on the stuff that we are studying in our lectures, which is really cool. We have an antimicrobial resistance society. And apart from these are curricular, more of a curricular kind of academic societies. But then we have theater society that I'm a part of. We did 2 plays a year last year, and they were really, really fun. I made loads of new friends. And there's the Indian Society, there's the Indian National Students Association, and then there is an entrepreneurship society that I'm a part of. And so there are just loads of societies. And then there are sports societies, sports opportunities. There's one entire building which is dedicated to these sports and stuff like that. But yeah.
Right, right. And how does these societies help you kickstart your career?
They really help in their own ways. For example, if you talk about the theater society, that really helped me in developing team-based skills, team development skills, because we had like a cast of 20 people performing a show. And so in that aspect, it helped me. And then if we talk about this G Genome Society, which I'm a part of, they had this these information sessions about the MSci program, which is this program where you can have a composite MSci degree, or not only for with your you graduate with a bachelor's and a master's degree, but what it adds is it adds an year to your degree where you do an industrial placement in a year and get a full degree, which is a conversation for another day though. But yeah, so they did really nice informative sessions, and the students who have done this program and they're still at university in their 5th year came over, talked about their experience and how they found it out, and it was really interesting to know. And then the Indian society really helps me connect with other Indian people living abroad. And I think it's really important to connect with your own roots wherever you go, although not stick to them, but maybe like keep a slight connection, if you know what I mean.
Right, right. Stay in touch with your roots, that's very important. That keeps you grounded,
Mhm.
and so that you always keep on learning. You don't you're not into like cloud nine situation that okay, I know
Yeah,
everything, that's not a good situation to be in. So it's always uh, recommended to stay grounded, stay rooted with your, stay connected with your roots. That's very important.
I
Okay,
agree.
now you recall that question that I asked, that tell me something negative, not negative, but something that UK can change, make it better with respect to any student or any person living over there. So what's that thing?
I would say it's really very expensive to live in the UK, and not because of, I mean, everything's so expensive. The prices are really high. And I think it can be changed at a political level or at a higher level by doing something that I'm not aware of. But I think, yeah, it's very expensive to live here. So maybe that can be changed a bit. But then we're having a pay rise in April. So let's see. I'm
Fingers
looking.
crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Right, right. Now, how was your expectation before you started this journey? How has this turned out so far? Does the expectation met the reality, or it's vice versa?
I have always achieved more than expected. I am really very grateful for that. And I had a very ambitious and a very unbelievable kind of of a thought when I thought of studying abroad, and I'm actually living that dream that I manifested. So it's just an amazing feeling, you know, living on your own, doing your own stuff. It's, and also every day is a new challenge. Like you always need to get out of your comfort zone, go out there, give your best, and I like doing that. I'm enjoying it.
Right. Getting out of your comfort gives you the wings that you need to fly. So
Exactly.
true, true. Makes sense. Okay, now we are almost done with our session, and it has been a very interesting chatty session, and I really liked it. However,
Thanks.
there are a couple of still questions left that I really want you to answer. And one major question, the two important question I'll say, one of them is that there is a huge accommodation crisis happening across globe, and UK is, I believe, the one that's suffering the most with respect to, like, if we talk about Glasgow itself, there are a lot of students who are still unable to find accommodation because they are doing it very last minute due to some reasons or any xyz reasons. What is your suggestion on this? How do you recommend one should plan their accommodation? Because what happens when the university and everything is sorted, people think, okay, once I land, then I'll look for an apartment, I'll stay in a hotel for a couple of weeks, maybe that. So what do you recommend? You're living over there, you have seen your friends, you have been through this journey. What is your suggestion for these students?
I think I have learned it the hard way, but I would say always plan in advance. Always plan everything in advance. And I think it's more of an Indian thing to just go somewhere and find a place there to live. But Guys, it's not like that in the UK, because it's the exact opposite. Like everything's online, first of all. So you literally can't just go to someone's place and be like, hey, are you looking for a flatmate? You can't do that. Everything's online. Although it's common to do it in India though. So it's not wrong of people to assume that. But it's just different in the UK. And just plan things in advance. Do not even think about staying in an hotel because it's so expensive. And I know people who thought of living in an hotel and they are almost towards the end of their second semester and they are still looking for an
Oh
accommodation
my dear
because
Lord, I must be thinking how much expense they might have done so far.
loads of money, loads of money, tons of money. But and it's not even an option to live in a hotel. So you need to find an accommodation. Maybe start like 6 months ahead, because that's most of the people do that. Or else one of the most important things that I found very helpful is making contacts and references in Glasgow. So if you're coming in Glasgow, just maybe look up all the groups, all the Facebook group chats. They really help. And the Indian group, the Indian accommodation or the Glasgow Indian groups, you can join on Telegram and WhatsApp, and they really help you to make contacts so that you know at least some people, maybe a couple before coming to Glasgow.
Sure.
And then, sorry, there are these Facebook and WhatsApp groups there where they have accommodations, but I think this is all very hazy. But the best way is to contact University Living, and they sort everything out for you, literally.
Thank you so much. And we have our own community as well. You guys can come
Yeah,
and you can find Ashit also over there, just in case you have to tag him, and he's happy to
yeah,
address those queries. So,
always.
and yeah, booking early is the best suggestion. Not just flights, not just accommodation, not just university. If you apply early, the early bird always gets the best offers. That's
Yeah,
the simple line that I can say, and I believe it just compiles everything that we want to discuss more, because otherwise this session will go little more longer.
I
So
know, I know.
yeah. Now the last question that I want to talk, and which is very important with respect to any student who's coming abroad, just study and living. You also mentioned a little part of it that UK is very expensive.
Yeah.
So what is the cost of living in Glasgow? How do you manage as a student? And what do you recommend? How to plan that? Or for example, part-time jobs. Are you doing any part-time jobs? If yes, then how to get there?
I think there are a lot of part-time jobs. It all depends on your vigor to apply for them. Because I know some people who are working and I know some people who are not working as well. So it's really very rational. But the cost of living is very, very high, believe it or not, guys. You need to face it someday. It's a hard truth. And if I try to break my cost of living, I'll give you a general perspective because I end up spending a lot more than I actually want to before I start my month. So as is in general, you spend about £500 for your rent, about 150 for your daily basic needs or lunches, food, grocery, and then you spend about 550 to £100 in your subscriptions and your bills and stuff. So it's around about 700 to 750 for a month of
When you
expenditure.
don't party a lot.
Yeah, when you don't party a lot. Otherwise, it's going to be like 7 weekends of yours, 700 quid. Because I know friends who go out and spend 100 quid in a night out. I'm like, why? Why are you spending that much money? But then it's obviously a personal choice. And yeah, I mean, this 700 is when you're doing basic socializing, because I do a lot of socializing. And that's why I end up spending so much money. But then it's
But I
part
think
of
it's important to socialize also.
it is very
And I think
important.
yeah, 500 and 700, you cook on your own.
Uh, okay. I
So
do
yeah,
try
so
to.
I think Ashit is, so you can cut this cost to 650 or 600 if you're cooking inside, I'll say.
Yes, yes, you do have a point here. Because I don't know, it's just a thing. I don't prefer making a lot of meals. I do cook once in a while, but I'm not a good
It's
cook. Like I cook stuff like sandwiches or eggs and basic stuff like that, but I don't cook like proper
breakfast.
meals.
Quick
Yeah, yeah,
breakfast or a finger
big
food.
breakfast.
Makes sense. No, it's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
It's completely fine. But yeah, if you can cook in house, it will help you in saving money.
It's a
If you don't
blessing
want
in
to cook, you
disguise.
can go and party, and your expense is gonna be like 800 to 1,000 pounds per week.
Yeah, yeah. Also, I have this advice for students planning to come abroad to stay organized and plan everything ahead of time, and try to seek as many opportunities as you can, because as I said in the beginning, there are a lot of opportunities here in the UK. It totally depends on you. Make new friends, explore the new culture. And talking of exploring new culture, we have this St. Patrick's Day today in the UK.
Yeah,
So I'm going to go out and celebrate that with my friends right after this meeting.
right, right. I
And
believe viewers, when you're gonna watch this, St. Patrick's Day will be a week or 2 weeks old. But
oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah. But and just stay open-minded, flexible, willing to step out of your comfort zone. And most importantly, take care of your physical and mental health, because loads of most people don't talk about mental health, but it's really very important to look after your mental health, because it's an Indian perspective of being strong enough to not think about your mental health, but it doesn't
I
work
will
that
say things have changed. I'll say things have
way.
changed. After COVID, things have changed drastically. Everybody is now actually more proactive towards the mental well-being. And
It's really
now
important.
even parents can consider that, okay, the child can need some help.
Yeah.
That's the good change that we have seen over here, especially in Asia. If I
Yes.
talk about, yeah, they don't say that just go eat and you'll be fine, or don't use your mobile phone, you'll be fine.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's a really nice thing.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it, because the one of the major drawbacks of coming abroad is this feeling of homesickness and feeling of missing home. And then, it's even worse when it's a festival or it's an Indian thing or it's your birthday or something.
Right.
And then you miss people back home. But it's okay. Like, think about the other good stuff that's happening in your life. You're
And
literally,
that's why you have these unions and clubs. You
yeah,
find other Indian people who are also feeling lonely at that moment of time, and two lonelies can make, a good, pleasant, fun time together, I'll say.
exactly.
Right.
Societies and friends always make up for it.
True, true. Ashit, I've already captured the last one final like bonus question that I always ask, and you've already, but still, I would again ask you to revisit those points. So, the 2 cents of advice that you would like to give to any student who's planning to study abroad right now, who's dreaming to study abroad, what is that?
Just one, always stay up for opportunities, because they never come back. So don't ever miss an opportunity, because I am a procrastinator, and it's really hard for me to keep myself up to date and keep myself working for everything that's happening. And fortunately, I try and do it as much as I can. And then secondly, meet as many new people as you can, make friends, because what happens in the Western world is that it's really very normal for you to meet someone, have a really good time, and then one day stop talking and lose contacts. So meet as many people as you can, have a huge circle so that it doesn't bother you. But and it's normal, like it's not a bad thing for either one of you, but it's just how life is.
Right. And I think there are perks to this also, having a huge circle, meeting all kind of people. You get to celebrate a lot of day and you don't get homesick. So
Exactly.
yeah. So on
Just
this
stay away
note,
from.
right. On this note, we'll be closing our session. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope
It's
you
my
found it
pleasure.
useful. Looking forward to seeing you guys next Friday, 5 p.m. Stay tuned to our social media handles for more information, and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done yet. Thank you so much, Ashit, joining for
It's my
us today here.
pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.